Using self-hosting, VolumeData21. This is episodio 16. It's already episode 16. Sorry for missing last week. I recorded it, and then I kind of lost the recording. But big news this week up front is that Plex requires an update and a password change. I guess it doesn't require it, but you should definitely do it. There was a Plex security breach. It's kind of uncertain exactly what information was taken, but it seems that passwords and possibly some user information was taken. Your best bet right now, at the very least, make sure your Plex server is upgraded and up to date, and then make sure to change your Plex password. And sorry, if you have any users to your Plex server, make sure that they're also changing their passwords and that they're aware of what happened. NAS Compares, Robbie from NAS Compares has a great video on kind of the current state of that Plex security breach, why you should be cautious, what you should be doing. You know, I think for those of you that have a containerized version of Plex and stuff, should be okay. I mean, it's kind of unknown whether somebody could, get into your Plex server and possibly do something with your server. I would think most likely probably not. They're trying to I would assume that they just want to pass around passwords, do whatever they want to do with that. But if you change your password, you should be set. Plex also offers two-factor authentication, so you should definitely consider that if you are using Plex. Maybe you're considering a move to Jellyfin now. I don't know. None of my business. I'm still with Plex because it's too much of a pain for me to switch now. But I do have a Jellyfin server that I run too. It's actually I don't know why I'm saying it's a pain. I actually don't have to do a lot to do it. It's just I already have all my episodes and stuff sorted in Plex, like where I'm watching things and how I can continue on. But hopefully that'll be a sooner than later activity for me, is to just test out a Jellyfin server for more long-term usage. This ridiculously overpowered mini PC can run most local LLMs you throw at it. I didn't know this, but out there is now this new trend of mini PCs that can run pretty big learning language models. So if you're interested, like if you use ChatGPT, you can self-host versions of that. You can go to ollama.com/models and see what you can self-host. So you can self-host versions of Gemini, versions of Llama, DeepSeek, and even ChatGPT-4. You can run a version of that. And I believe with these mini PCs, they're around $1,600 to $2,000, so they're definitely not cheap. But what is cool with a mini PC is you can run models that have up to, what are they called, processes or instructions or something, but you can run ones I think that are up to like 70 billion. If you've got a pretty good graphics card, like I have a 5070 Ti, I can typically get all the way up to around 15 billion. That's about my safe zone, but yeah, it looks like the version here. So this is an article from XDA talking about the AMD's top-of-the-line Strix Halo APU being inside. Oh, I'm forgetting the model of this. I think most of these mini PCs, it looks like they're running an AMD Strix Halo AI 395 Plus APU in order to do this. The exact model of this one is called BossGam M5 AI Mini Desktop, and it runs about $1,700. And I think that's on the low end if you're looking for a machine like this. But if you're interested in self-hosting your own AI, you can run something like Ollama. You can run it alongside Open Web UI, so you've got an interface that looks just like ChatGPT, basically. And you're good to go. You can have a pretty good learning language model that doesn't go out to the internet to fetch information. Everything is local. Any questions or searches you do, no matter how weird they get, only you should know about them. So I think it's an awesome thing to do. You don't have to reach out to the internet for this stuff. If you're worried about you might want to automate personal banking information or something like that. Not that I know that much about security of this kind of stuff, but I would feel more safe doing it this way than on ChatGPT, I suppose. So that is out there, though. Take a look at those mini PCs if you're interested. 6 essential services to run in a cheap VPS. A VPS is basically a computer that you can use out in the cloud. So it's a computer somewhere else, and usually they'll give you login info. You can install certain operating systems. Usually there's a good amount that you can install. Ubuntu is a very popular one. But you can use them to run different programs. Like maybe you can run a search engine on there. You might want to run... Maybe you don't want contacts or calendars on site. If you move around a lot, you might have processes that you don't want to go down. You can host them on a VPS. This is another XDA article, and the services they suggest, one of them that was interesting was a Minecraft server. Don't get suckered into playing for realms is what they say. But they say you kind of need a little bit of a beefier one. Somebody says that theirs cost $8 a month, and they only pay... Oh, hold on. That costs $8 a month. I only pay $32 a year for my VPS on RackNerd. And you just kind of have to be careful about the specs. Personally, I think if you are really into self-hosting, you should run a Minecraft server locally. And if you want to be able to use an Elytra and fly around with minimal load times, get something with like an NVMe speed and you should be good to go. But I thought it was an interesting article just to see what other things people host on a VPS. Email server? I don't think I would ever run an email server, but you can do it. Encrypted file storage, DNS services, a lot of cool stuff you can run off-site. Robocopy in a home lab. This is by Noted. Thank you, Jeremy from Noted LOL, for coming back, posting up regularly. Robocop E, which sounds suspiciously like Robocop, is a program used for copying large files. So the benefit of using Robocopy is that when you are copying, if something happens during the transfer, you can resume it. You don't have to worry about, it cut out halfway. Maybe there was a networking issue or something like that. You can resume later. So that program is called Robocopy. And if you're interested in installing it, check out noted.lol. I think it's a big one for self-hosting. Peeps, because you're constantly having to transfer files back and forth. BTRFS versus ext4, as well as a Synology complete setup guide. This is a beginner guide. Both those videos are by SpaceRex if you're interested. If you're new to servers or NASs and you are thinking about getting a Synology NAS, SpaceRex is one of the main guys to go to. He's got an excellent beginner's guide for setting up a NAS. I think I used him in the past when I was setting up my first one back in, 2019, 2018, around then. But yeah, there is some controversy around using a Synology NAS now because of their hard drive lock-in. It seems like there's word spreading that maybe they're going to backtrack on that a bit, and you might be able to use third-party hard drives. No one's sure how that will work yet. No one's sure if that's region-specific or not. But I will say, having a Synology NAS, for me personally, it's been my rock. It's been a very rock-solid way of hosting file. At least for a file server, it's been excellent. As far as running powerful programs and stuff like that, not as much. The chips aren't that great. Like, I prefer to run my Plex server and a Minecraft server on a different machine, something with a little more beef. Forget Kubernetes. This is how I run Docker containers. Lawrence Systems has a video out on how he is running Docker containers, which is interesting. It looks like he's using Proxmox. We'll spin up a version of Debian. I think Debian 13 is what he shows in the video. And it looks like he puts most of his Docker programs in the /srv folder, which is what I used to do. And now I usually just put them in the home folder of whatever user I'm on an Ubuntu server. But it's cool. I'm always interested to see how other people organize their systems and how they're running them. So this was a really good one too. And he also shows what programs that he's using. For example, he's using Homar, which is like your own custom homepage, and you can use that to organize any Docker containers you launch. Fresh RSS I also use CommaFeed. I'm in the middle of those two right now. 13-foot ladder, I don't know what that is, but he uses Open Web UI. For you guys interested in self-hosting your own language models, there you go. But he's got a bunch of other things on here that he self-hosts. Very interesting video from Lawrence Systems. We got another video from DB Tech. DB Tech has been posting like a beast lately. It's been great. RW Markable. Simple self-hosted notes and checklists, no database required. I was able to spin this up very quickly. Good job, RW Markable. I would give you like a B+ on the install. It was very simple. I had to make one change, which was change some permission issues on the data folder, but I did that, and I knew that because you guys specified that in the instructions. But RW Markable is a document and checklist app. Seems very simple. DB Tech's got a great video where he really goes into it, but you can organize different notes. It uses Markdown for the notes. Let me see, is there any I don't think they have a phone app or anything like that, but it seems like a good project. It's already got 211 stars. Really clean, really well designed. I really like, good logo, sharp logo here. I like what RW Markable is doing. Everything just feels very clean and well organized. There's a million apps out there for this kind of stuff, so it's always good to see something out there, because I feel like even though there are so many note-taking apps, it's difficult to find the right one. And I'm going to go over another one later in this pod. For you music lovers out there, Veronica Explains and her band, they just released a new album. Nothing to do with self-hosting, but maybe you want some good tunes from another self-hosted Linux-type person. If you don't know who Veronica Explains is, she's a popular tech YouTuber, super into like Linux and old-school coding, that kind of thing. And yeah, her band just released a new album, which dovetails into one of the next things. Wolfgang's channel released a video called Modern Classic. This iPod is built different, going over how he uses an iPod, and oh man, I had a whole thing for this last week, and I kind of forgot some of it. Oh, he talks about like getting off of streaming servers, distractions, things like that. But this kind of dovetails into another thing that just has to do with music in general. So I'm going to hop over to Lemmy. Why I ditched Spotify and how I set up my own music stack. Spotify, I feel like, always goes through backlash in the self-hosting world, stuff like that. But I'm sure Spotify is doing fine overall. But for those of you that self-host your own music, there are a lot of different options out there. You can use Plex, Jellyfin, Navidrome. There are people out there that are using Raspberry Pis to create a Sonos-like environment if you want to have speakers set up in different places. There's a lot that you can do with music in the self-hosting community. Later on, I have another one about where to buy MP3s, and I will just say the place where I buy MP3s is called 7digital.com. And actually, I really never buy MP3s. I'll buy them every once in a while, but I will buy digital music in a FLAC format, which is essentially uncompressed music. But you don't have to use 7digital.com. There are other sites if you are interested in buying music. There are plenty of other ways to acquire music. You can use, what is the program called? Ease Copy, I think is what it's called. If you've got a CD player or a DVD drive around, very easy to rip your CDs and have uncompressed versions of those. You can hop over to, there are plenty of stores or flea markets or whatever that sell CDs for $1 or $2. You can rip them. You've got the uncompressed version of them. You can throw them up on Plex, Spotify. You can sync all of your music to a phone. It really doesn't take up that much space, depending on how much music you have. But yeah, there's so much you can do out there with music if you're looking for an alternative to Spotify. I will say Spotify still seems to have the best recommendations, and people are trying to get in there and close that gap. Another cool thing I like about Spotify, which I would like to see in a self-hosted app, maybe it's out there and I've just missed it. I do like that if you listen to an artist frequently and they know it, they will show you when they're going to go on tour and have a tour date near you. Unfortunately, Bad Bunny, not coming to the US anytime soon, but I've seen him live in the US already, so glad that I was able to do that. Is there a good alternative to GitHub Pages? And just looking through here briefly, surprised nobody said this. I might be misunderstanding the question of what GitHub Pages is because I'm kind of stupid, but I do use, as an alternative to GitHub in general, Gidia, and that is my self-hosted version of GitHub. So I'll host projects on there, I'll host notes. I really want to get better about doing that to have I have a public GitHub, github.com/VolumeData21. And for future videos, my plan is to just have a lot of that information live there. But a lot of uses for GitHub, even if you're not a programmer or developer. I certainly am not. The best I can do is, as the kids say, vibe coding. About the only thing I've built is a soundboard app. GitHub still has a lot of good uses, and you can help contribute to projects. Maybe you're like a designer or something like that. GitHub is another way that you can help maybe spruce up a project. Maybe you know some front end development or something. You don't necessarily have to be able to code a project. You can even learn it to help out with other projects. Very cool. But Gidia is a self-hosted version of that. If you just want some stuff locally, maybe you don't need to share it out with the world, or you just don't want to rely on GitHub, you can do that. You can link it up with a reverse proxy and have your Gidia instance out there. Sources to purchase MP3s, I already did that one. That was by Crocodillo Bombardino, so he's the one that posted that. Shout out. Says he's a heavy user of Bandcamp, but I know it has a strengths and weaknesses. Bandcamp, you can also purchase music from them. Also a good place to just keep track of musicians. But yeah, one of the first comments says they use Bandcamp and 7digital. Compress.lol, a new app from routine_yesterday535. This is on the self-hosted subreddit. Shrink your videos in the browser, no servers involved. Looks like you can just drag and drop a video. You give it the target size of the video, you hit a compress button, and you then have a compressed video. Not a lot to say about this. Really enjoy tools like this. Very simple, to the point. It's got a very easy use case to understand. Looks like it's pretty easy to set up. First question is, what's the Weissman score? Good one for any of you Silicon Valley fans out there. I found Notesnook, and I'm never going back to Google Keep. This is by Bearded Tux. I've also seen Notesnook mentioned in a couple of other areas. I saw an XDA article about it. Yeah, first comment, why don't they ever put screenshots in the GitHub? The guy after that was from ear equivalent 3929, and then Trona Legacy, not Tron Legacy, Trona Legacy says GitHub isn't conducive to hosting screenshots. They got a lot of downvotes for that one. Notesnook seems to be a very viable competitor to Obsidian. I tried to try this out, but they don't have a great Docker implementation yet. So I think it's easy to install the app on your different devices, but as far as syncing them, you would want some sort of server. I prefer to use Docker and just use a server that way. They do have one. There's not any official documentation, and I probably spent an hour trying to get it up, and I just didn't have any luck. But I'm keeping tabs on this project. That's Notesnook, one word. They pitch it as an alternative to Google Keep, but I think it's a really solid-looking alternative to any note-taking app. And they have an Android app for it, so I'm pretty excited about it. Hopefully this thing goes a long way. You can go to notesnook.com to check out what it looks like. I don't think it uses Markdown. I think it actually uses RTF, rich text format. for files, but yeah, it looks pretty legit. Jellyfin, no updates. Last one was on April 5th. Just thought I'd mention it though. Jellyfin, let's get some updates going. Image, on the other hand, has had an update. 3 days ago, they released version 1.41. Nothing too big. Auto add uploaded assets to albums. View similar photos. That's actually a pretty cool one. So you can click on a photo and then there's an option to see similar photos. And you can see what's what. Maybe you want to delete some duplicates, or maybe look at ones that you took a burst shot of or something like that. Or, I don't know, maybe you're trying to look for a certain type of photo and you can view just similar photos like that. I don't know how similar the photos have to be, but very cool. They have also mentioned that they are on track to do some sort of stable release. So once they do that, you will get a VolumeData21 video on how to install it on both Ubuntu and a Synology NAS as soon as they get that stable release out, because your boy VD21, VolumeData21, might be looking to make the switch from Synology Photos to Image once they get a stable release out. And then probably a big one, I probably should just mention this up front, was Home Assistant has got a lot of new news, but they're going to be changing a little bit of their front end. Let me see here. They've got an automation editor in the sidebar. They've got a new home dashboard, so you're getting a couple of new tiles like a trend chart, media player controls, bar gauge, fan direction, and oscillation controls, buttons, valve, open and close. You can open and close valves with Home Assistant. I didn't know that. I'm not a homeowner. I don't know that much about valves. And setting the date. But yeah, a lot of cool new stuff coming from Home Assistant. I would check out their blog for the big one. There's a couple of things in these screenshots I didn't know you could do. For example, valves was one. You can check your car battery life and print progress. A couple little things I didn't know about. For any of you guys with smart fans and stuff, there's going to be plenty of controls and plenty of new buttons for all of that stuff. That's it for News in Self-Hosting, episode 16.